Hey y'all, and welcome to Theranista Talks. Yes, 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 yes. Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of Theranista Talks. Thank y'all so much. The amount of love, the amount of support, likes, shares, recommendations of this conversation. Thank y'all so much. We are at episode 3, and I am just so honored to be in this space, to be doing something that I said I wanted to do, to be doing something that I feel like God is telling me to do. And so for that, I am just grateful for obedience. I'm grateful for the responsibility of Theranista Talks, of what God is calling me to. And so y'all, thank you. Thank you so much for just all the sweet words, all of the support. I've just been overwhelmed by it, but in such a great way, for sure, in such a great way. So thank you all so very much. So I want to get into today's episode, right? This week's episode. And so I want to give a disclaimer. The disclaimer is this episode might be kind of heavy. It might be kind of triggering. We are here to have a conversation about a very important topic in the mental health field, in just the human service field in general. I feel like whether you work for housing, for the state, if you're a police officer, if you are a social worker, if you are a clinical counselor, if you are clergy, anywhere, you can be impacted by this anywhere. And so I want to just shed some light on it and hopefully even give somebody the opportunity to breathe, right? To be able to just find safety in this moment of listening to the podcast and be able to reach out to a resource, right? And so today we are talking about the month of September being Suicide Awareness Month. And so this, of course, is something very near and dear to my heart because I have lost somebody to suicide years ago. Also, I used to work in crisis years ago. That was the start of my social work career. And so one of the things that I did back then was I was a part of the mobile crisis for my area. And so basically what that means is we were the 911 for anybody in a mental health crisis. And so that person could be calling saying that they want to harm themselves or they have attempted already. I've gotten calls where they have attempted and I am doing my very best to get to them and just all kinds of situations. And so I wanted to be able to talk about it because, again, the month of September is Suicide Awareness Month. I am a clinical social worker and I also have a background in crisis. So it really does hit home for me. So yeah, let's get into the conversation. So I did want to give that disclaimer, but let's get into the conversation. Suicide is death caused by self-directed injurious behaviors with intent to die as a result of the behavior. So we have suicide versus self-injurious behaviors. So suicide is with intent to end your life, and then self-injurious behaviors are you don't want to end your life. However, you do want to feel a level of pain because you are experiencing internal pain and you don't necessarily know how to navigate it, right? And so self-injurious behaviors can look like cutting. Self-injurious behaviors can look like pulling hairs, just out of your hair, pulling out. I heard people pulling eyelashes, various things, right? But essentially, all of this is a direct result of painful emotions, right? When we are just so overwhelmed by despair that we feel like we don't have it out, that we feel like the world would be better off if I was not in it. That the world, my family would be better, my job would be better, my spouse would be better, everybody would be better if I was not here. That is usually the thing, what people say when coming to therapy. So one of the things, let me give you all some insight into my sessions. One of the things that we as clinicians all should be asking as social workers who are working in the human service field is we should be asking upon intake if a person feels as though they want to harm themselves or somebody else. And so a lot of people who I get in my office are like, no, I don't feel like that. And so then I have some people who maybe they've experienced it. Maybe they haven't done anything to themselves, but maybe they thought about it. And so a lot of what I hear, unfortunately, with young people being teenagers is they will say it often, but they don't mean it, right? They just want it to unfortunately get out of trouble, or they wanted to be able to just have it their way. And unfortunately, somewhere along the line, that has become the line that you say. And so this topic, so people don't want to have it, right? People don't want to talk about it. You would be amazed, or maybe not be amazed, at how many people come to me and they're like, you know what, I don't want to say it, I don't want to trigger them. Or how many just young social workers are like, I don't want to touch that topic, I don't want to make them think about it. And I tell people, listen, unfortunately, if somebody is planning on doing something to harm themselves, they are going to attempt by any means necessary. And I think the goal as a person in position to really assist people, whether you are a social worker, whether you are a friend, a family member, I think the goal is to just be compassionate, right? I think the goal is to be able to hear them, to be able to let them know that they do have a voice, right? So for you to hear them and for them to hear them. Sometimes, a lot of times, we need to hear our own voice. We need to hear ourselves, tell ourselves that it's going to be okay. We need to hear ourselves say what we are experiencing, right? Like, we need to give words, we need to give language to what we are feeling internally, because it's overwhelming us. A lot of times I talk with people and they tell me how a lot of times they are in their head, right? I'm pretty sure a lot of us have heard that. And so I always tell my clients, if you are living in your head, then live outside of your head. And that can look like journaling. That can look like dependent on being able to depend on a friend, a family member, whoever you have in your life that's a great natural support, that's a supportive natural support. Coming to therapy. I always tell my clients usually come in and they ask, how often should I come? And I say, well, it's up to you. It depends on schedule. It depends on finances, resources, things of that nature. The only time that I tell them, I need you in here a little bit more often. Like, I need you in here weekly. Are you able to make that happen? What do we need to do? What can we work out to get you in here often? And usually that is a result of a decline in their overall mental health, right? If I am hearing more hopelessness than I am hearing hopefulness, if I am hearing a little bit more despair in their voice during the assessment than I did in the consultation, right? Or if I'm hearing things like, no, I'm not suicidal, I'm not going to harm myself, but I wouldn't mind if I just didn't wake up. I wouldn't care. I don't think anybody else would care. Where we just have these moments and we feel these overwhelming feelings of, I don't care what happens to me. And that is not a safe place to be in. And at that point, help is needed. Knowing that you don't have to do this alone, that you can 1,000% be supported in this, and being able to get to the root cause of what caused this very painful emotion that is telling you those intrusive thoughts, those negative thoughts that are telling you that you are not worthy, that you are not valued, that your existence on earth does not matter. But let me tell you, it does. We hear me when I say this. We all have purpose. We all have something on this earth that is specific to us, that we are good at. Does it require some figuring out? Does it require a little bit of work? Does it require sometimes a lot of work? It requires our intentionality. Y'all, let me tell y'all something. Life is to be lived intentionally. Life is to be lived on purpose. Y'all will hear me say that so much throughout this podcast, throughout this, just my time doing Theranista Talks, that life is to be lived intentionally. That we need something to hold on to, that we need somebody. We are not supposed to live life alone. If that was the case, God would have just created Adam. But no, he created him a helper, a helpmeet, a wife, a partner, a spouse, somebody. And two, catch this, he created all the animals in twos. Even when he told Noah to build the ark, every creature came in twos. Every bug, every cat, every dog, every lion, every zebra, they came in twos because nobody is supposed to do life alone, not even the animals. So, how much more does God care about us? How much more does He consider us? That He puts community around us. But are you allowing the community in? And I know, you've been hurt and people have not been the nicest, but there are people out there who will love you, who will have compassion for you, who will have empathy, who will listen to you, who will give you wise counsel, right? There are people out there. I promise you. I don't make a whole lot of promises, but I promise you, right? And then as you begin to have those interactions with people, you are able to build up the grace that you need for people. Because I'm not saying everybody's going to be perfect. Everybody's going to treat you like, a sweet little person. But the more that you begin to live life intentionally, the more positive interactions you will have, because you will be navigating through your painful emotions. You will be seeking help. You will be intentionally saying, I can no longer feel like this. People who experience suicidal ideations are experiencing deep despair, painful emotions, intrusive thoughts that are telling them a lot of things that are not true. Because our emotions, when they are at a high, y'all, they exacerbate life. We create scenarios, we create situations with people, with just external factors, with jobs, with so many things. We can literally drive ourselves insane if we pay too much, all the attention to our emotions. And one of the episodes that I plan on doing is emotional processing, where we really just get into what am I supposed to do with all this? What am I supposed to do with all these emotions? What am I supposed to do with the way I feel? And how do I figure out what's real and what's not real? Okay. But people who experience suicidal ideations are experiencing deep despair. And so one of the things that is very important, and we hear this all the time, is to be kind to people, because you never know what people are going through. The goal to working your way out of those thoughts is to go from hopelessness to hopefulness, right? Like, you want to become hopeful. You want to know that things are going to get better. When you start to, say like, why bother? Why should I go to this job? Why should I put any effort into the day-to-day, into brushing my teeth and taking a shower? Why should I? Who cares? People care. We need you to care, because the more that you care, the more that you take those little steps to feel better, you are walking yourself out of hopelessness, right? That it literally does take just one step at a time. I have worked with clients where I told them, just brush your teeth every day. That's all I want you to work on. And when you come see me next week, we'll work on the next step. We'll work on taking a shower, right? And then the next week, we'll work on doing your hair or getting a haircut. But let's maintain the small stuff, because y'all, the small stuff goes first. Our hygiene goes. We begin to isolate. The excessive worrying is starting, the racing thoughts, the sleepless nights, the low appetite. All of those things begin to start. And y'all, it's hard when you experience bouts of depression, intense bouts of depression. Y'all, I do not know why I'm getting emotional. And I think it's because I've experienced it. I've experienced intense depression as a therapist. And I'm like, what? Don't even make no sense. Yeah. Because I'm still human. Just because I'm a therapist doesn't make me not susceptible to any painful emotions. Life happens. And depression is real. Anxiety is real. And the result of it is so heavy. So we have to do the little things. We have to allow ourselves to do the little things. Y'all, I remember I was so depressed. This is 2025. I was so depressed in September of 2024. It's not even a year ago. Well, yeah, actually a year ago. Now it's September. Yeah, a year ago. And I just really thought that is who I was going to become. I mean, who I was going to stay. That I was content with being a depressed therapist. That my plea to God was, God, you show up for them because I can't. I need your spirit to show up because Alicia can't. In the natural, like I couldn't even at the time fully pull on what I know off of books. It was like I knew it, but I didn't know it. But it came up in the spirit. 1,000% came up in the spirit. Because in all reality, God knew what my clients needed. And God knew that he was not going to allow me to stay there. But to me, I was going to spiritually and emotionally allow myself to die there. Yeah, I was like, I'm good. I'm good on this. And unfortunately, there are people who have taken that even further, where the despair was so intense that they said, I can't do this anymore. And unfortunately, they ended their lives. There are a lot of people who don't understand why people blame people for dying by suicide. And the reality is that you don't understand what they were experiencing. And because this is the thing, right? You may have somebody that you can call, but they may have felt like they didn't have anybody. Or maybe the reality is that they didn't have anybody. Maybe that was their reality. And maybe they didn't allow the open door to figure out if there was somebody. Y'all know how many people tell me on a consistent basis that, oh, this therapist didn't call them back. Oh, this therapist didn't email them back. I make it my business to try to call and email clients, people who reach out, as much as I can. Because even if I have to tell you that I don't have any more slots, I at least want to let you know. And maybe even say, well, if you need some assistance finding another therapist, let me know. And I may have some resources. What do you need? Because a little extra goes a long way, y'all. A little extra goes a long way. I remember hearing this story from somebody I know, and they were saying how they felt prompted to talk to somebody, I think like on the train or something like that, if I remember the story correctly. The person who was telling the story, they were like, they didn't really feel like talking at the time. And they were like, you know what, I don't have time for this. I don't feel like speaking. But they just kept feeling this push to just talk to the person that they were being instructed to talk to. I believe they ended up telling the person something like, hey, I hope you have a great day. Just know that God loves you, because they had to deal with themselves. God was telling them to do this. So, obedience is better than sacrifice. The person then said, oh my God, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because I was actually on my way home and contemplating ending my life. And in that moment, being obedient for that person was necessary, was dependent upon somebody's life. And that person took it upon themselves to respond and be honest. And so as a result, there was an exchange and of, just further back and forth and, just some further assistance and compassion and just all the things that was needed in that moment. Y'all, a little goes a long way. Being nice to somebody, smiling. I always tell people, do not ask somebody how their day is going if you ain't really ready to listen. Because I'm the type of person, you walking past me in Walmart or any other store, wherever, walking down the street, you say, hey, how you doing? If I'm not doing good, I'm going to tell you, today could be better. It could be better. How are you? At that point, if you ask me, what's going on? I'm going to tell you. I don't care if you're a stranger. I'm going to tell you, you ask. You ask. If you ask, be prepared to listen. Don't just ask out of formality. People need people. You never know what that simple interaction is going to do for someone. Community is necessary, right? So after we improve, I'll say, our hopelessness to a little bit of hopefulness, then we need community. Then we need to be able to rely on people because isolation was not getting us anywhere. Isolation helping us see what we need to see, which is, like our purpose, the responsibilities that we may be abandoning in that moment, maybe our children, maybe our spouses, maybe our family, our friends, our jobs, right? So we need community. We need somebody that, even if they're just willing to come sit at the house and while I take a shower, because I can't take a shower by myself. Like, hey, can you come over here? I will never forget some years ago when I was experiencing grief and I was triggered when, I think it was like Memorial Day. And I remember I reached out to we worked together, one of my girlfriends, and I said, hey, can you come get me for work in the morning? Y'all, wasn't nothing wrong with my car. But I was not having a good night. I was really sad and I just wasn't well. And I was just very overwhelmed by my grief. And so I called her because I had to go to work the next morning. I could have called out. I wanted to call out. But I relied on my community and I said, hey, can you come get me for work in the morning? Because I don't think that I'm going to get up on my own. And she said, yeah, I'll come get you. I said, okay, thank you. She said, you okay? You need anything tonight? And I said, no, I'm going to go to sleep and just call me when you're on your way. I'll be ready. Y'all, sometimes you just got to make a call. You want to be able to, for a second, just kill the noise and say, let me do this one thing and see what it gets me. I was willing to do that one thing, right? And doing the one thing isn't easy because, again, you are putting somebody in your business, but it's okay because you need them. You need them to keep going because that despair, it's heavy and it's comfortable. Doing nothing is comfortable. Doing something is uncomfortable. We got to be willing to be a little uncomfortable for the sake of our life because our life is so meaningful. We got to be willing to tap into our community to be able to hear words that we can't hear if we stay in isolation. So killing the internal noise is necessary. That voice that tells us that we're not worthy enough, that voice that tells us nobody cares, that voice that tells us the world will be better off. No, it won't. You are so very important. One of the things that I teach my clients is that we have to be able to clean out our dirty water. Our default is negativity. Our default is to tell ourselves something negative, to doubt ourselves, to cause ourselves worry. So we have to be willing to clean out our dirty water. We have to be willing to speak so much positivity into our lives that it filters out the negativity. That as soon as you have that negative thought, immediately say a positive thought. So, Alicia, how do I do this? Okay, y'all know I'm all about the skills. I have all of my clients write out all of the negative things that they commonly say to themselves. That when they are not in the best state of mind, what are your emotions telling you? What are the intrusive thoughts saying to you? So I have them write it out. And so usually it ranges from about 5 to 10 things. And so after we write it out, we go through it. And then after that, I say, okay, well, let's create a positive statement that combats what this negative statement is saying to us. Let's create a truth that combats what this negative statement is saying to you. And I always have them, because y'all know we are always on our phones. Keep this on your phone. Say these things to yourself every day because you got to clean out your dirty water. You can't allow this murky, nasty, moldy water to just stay within you. No, you got to clean it out. So every day, speak something positive to yourself. So that way, when in the moment that it is overwhelming, you have a resource. You have created yourself a resource. A lot of my clients say to me often, Alicia, listen, I'm not trying to feel those emotions because the last time I felt those emotions, it wasn't good. And my thing is, you're in therapy. You're doing something different to get a different result. And my clients, they know I listen, I'm a gangster therapist. I'm going to pull up on you. Do you think that I'm going to allow you to stay in that sunken place? My clients know they got about 2 or 3 times to cancel, and I'm on that line like, hello, can I speak to so-and-so? Is everything okay? Because y'all, that comes with relationship. That's how we roll over here at Theranista Wellness. I'm just saying. I'm calling you. They all know too. And if any of them are listening to it, now they had to call them. They're like, she gonna call you. Even if I got to pull up. Because I'm a social worker to my core. Listen, I used to pull up in the street. So I'm going to pull up in my professional life. I'm going to pull up on you. Okay? Because I want to come see about you. I want you to know that you are just that important. That I am willing to come check on you. Right? I want you to know how important you are. I want you to know that I see you. I want you to know that I hear you, that I feel you. Come on. Allow yourself the access to people that will pull up on you. Give people access to pull up on you, to come see about you. There is somebody in this life that cares about you so very much. You got to do the hard thing, which is allowing them to. And again, I know the pain is deep. I know the pain, it hurts. But are you willing to just do one step that walks you away from hopelessness? That walks you away from self-inflicted pain, cutting yourself, pulling your hair, eating too much, eating too less. Are you willing to do that one thing that walks you away from the trigger? My God, just one thing to save your life, because there is purpose. You do have purpose. So I'm a faith-based therapist. I'm a Jesus girly. So we're going to talk about suicide and spirituality. Because y'all, let me tell y'all something. This myth, this religiosity, this religious crap that people have said for so many years that those who die by suicide are going to hell, that is not true. That is not, the Bible does not say that. Read your Bibles. And y'all, let me tell y'all something. I am in a position right now where I'm allowing myself I'm teaching myself how to become a scholar of the word. Like, I'm learning the Bible and reading it more often, trying to read it more often. And so I'll fact check everything. I don't know everything, but y'all, when I tell y'all, I will Google something so fast and then go straight to the Bible, or AI something so fast and go straight to the Bible, because AI can't tell me about the Bible. I just need it as a resource. Okay. Go to the Bible. Okay. What does this say? The Bible does not explicitly condemn suicide in any verse. However, it does portray instances of suicide because of despair, shame, and fear. And those were just some of the painful emotions. It does not say that you're going to hell. So what are you saying, Alicia? That God will love you through every painful emotion. Well, Alicia, if God loves me, why did he allow this? Why did he allow them to do this to me? Why did he allow them to say this to me? I don't know. But what I do know is that if you allow yourself to reach out to a resource to help you heal, to help you figure it out, God will reveal what his glory is as a result of that situation. I cannot sit here as a clinician, as a woman of God, and sit here and run it down why things have happened to us. Y'all, I don't know. Nobody has the answer to those questions but God. But if you allow yourself to attach yourself to him and allow him to heal you from the inside out, right? Not just spiritually, but naturally as well. Because y'all, one or the other isn't enough. You need both. I am here to say that you need both. There were things that I dealt with in the spirit early on that it sustained me for as long as it could. And then there was a moment where I had to come into therapy. I will never forget saying this to my therapist. We had been seeing each other for maybe a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I was like, I really need to process my sexual trauma. And she was like, well, I didn't even know you had sexual trauma. And I was like, yeah, because I thought I dealt with it. And she was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, I dealt with it spiritually. Like, I spiritually healed and forgave and those things. but some stuff was starting to trigger and come up. So naturally, I needed to walk this out with a therapist. I needed to walk this out with wise counsel. The Bible tells us to seek wise counsel, right? So you got to deal with things spiritually and naturally. It's by God's design. I'm not telling y'all nothing that I'm just coming up with. That is by God's design. For him to heal you and for you to seek wisdom and knowledge that is greater than your own. Y'all, it's necessary. Healing is free. Healing is free. And what I mean by that, because I know y'all like, at least your therapy costs. It does. But true peace, true healing, the journey to wholeness, it can start with God. One of the ways that I like to tell people to just start when it comes down to just recreating or starting your relationship with God. Y'all, the Bible app has 1,000,001 devotions where you can search any topic and simply just go through the devotions, where you can look up depression, you can look up suicide, you can look up anxiety, you can look up, all kinds of things. That is another skill. Utilize your Bible app. Because y'all know, here at Theranista Talks, I'm going to give you spiritual and natural because it's necessary. And I wanted to kill that myth that you're going to hell. You're not. If you are a believer of Christ and you have accepted Jesus, you're not going to hell. So kill that. God knows that we experience pain, which is why he gives us avenues to heal. He gives us a way of escape from our painful emotions to heal. Take the way of escape. If you're listening to this podcast, to this conversation, and you are experiencing despair, overwhelming, painful emotions, and you just can't figure out what you are going to do, tap into the resources. Reach out to me. Wherever you may be. Listen, it's kind of like it's my do too much trait. I will go above and beyond to help you find a therapist. I will do everything within my ability to help you find a resource as best as I know how. It's your job to put yourself out there and to utilize it. And I'm going to follow up with you. If you put me in this position to help you, I'm going to also follow up with you. Right? And so take the way of escape from your painful emotions. Talking about suicide awareness is talking about needing to bring relief to the painful emotions, to the despair, to the agony. It is needing to learn how to filter out the negative, intrusive thoughts. And it's being able to flood your life with positivity, whether that is listening to messages on YouTube, listening to podcasts, positive podcasts, right? Whether it's deleting all the nonsense and chaos from your social media or just completely coming off social media for a while. It's being able to tell the person that you are struggling, to tell the person in your life that cares about you that you are struggling. Being able to find a therapist. So my encouragement to you today is just take the step. Just take step one. If you are struggling, if you just don't understand the painful emotions, the feelings of being stuck and you can't move, you can't get out the bed, the lack of motivation, the low interest, things just aren't as fun as they used to be, take this way of escape and reach out to somebody. I always tell people, you are ready to go to therapy when, at any time, but people are like, how do I know that I need a therapist? And my response is always, when everything that you usually do to make yourself feel better, to be well, is no longer working. It's time for you to utilize a resource outside of yourself to learn knowledge outside of what you know, to gain wisdom and understanding, to seek wise counsel, and to allow yourself to heal. We don't know everything. I don't know everything. And so this episode is my encouragement to hope that you will take the first step. If you are experiencing overwhelming despair, intense depression, if you are experiencing any kind of suicidal ideations, any intrusive thoughts that you may not really have an intent, but you feel as though, oh, I don't mind if I just don't wake up, reach out to somebody. Find a therapist in your local area. I will be making sure that I put all of that information in the necessary places, in the important places, in the comments, things like that, in the captions, But also reach out. If you need some assistance, reach out. And so I will tell you, look on if you need a therapist, right? I'll give it to you right now. There is psychologytoday.com. There is therapyforblackgirls.com. There is therapyforblackmen.org, if I believe correctly. And these are therapist directory sites. Go on there, put your zip code in, and then a bunch of therapists will come up. Once the therapists come up, then filter it by your insurance. That way, when you are reading the descriptions, you don't fall in love with a therapist that doesn't take your insurance, unless you're willing to pay self-pay. And those are options as well. And then you have openpathcollective.org. And openpathcollective.org is a website for people who have minimum to no insurance. And so my suggestion is always go through the directory, same thing, but make sure that they are still taking referrals through this site. If they are, then you have to pay a one-time fee to do the referral, but you always have access to this portal. You pay a one-time fee and they won't charge you past a certain amount. There are also foundations out there that will pay for your therapy for you. And so I will put those things. I do not remember the actual name of the one I have in my mind. I don't know if it's the correct name and I don't want to say something wrong, but I will put all of the resources that I have out there. If anybody is listening to this and you have more resources, definitely share them with me. Send them to me. I would love to have them so that, we helping the people. Listen, y'all, I'm here for y'all. All of this is for y'all, right? It's like I tell my clients, like my office space is for y'all. It's not for me. Right? Because I just want to see people healed and whole. And it's possible. You are capable of that. You deserve that. You are important. Okay? So never forget that. And if anybody asks who told you that, tell them the Theranista told you that. Okay? All right, y'all. Until next time, I love y'all. Please don't forget to comment, share, subscribe. Y'all know all the things. And until next time, I will see y'all later. Bye. Love y'all.